I think we're live.
Yeah, I think we are too.
And I'm really hoping we have sound.
Well, the blue light on the mic is on, so
Fingers crossed.
that's a good sign.
Right? Welcome back to Book Chats with Mostly Books. I'm Jody.
I'm Jen.
And tonight we are discussing One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. McQuiston, I apologize. I don't know why I added an N. Anyway, Jen's going to tell us what this one is about.
Okay, so August is 23, and she's moved to New York because she can't stand to stay in the same place for too long. And she answers a roommate wanted ad where she meets her chaotic ragtag band of lovable roommates and she gets a job. She's like, okay, I can make a life here in the kind of temporary way she does. So she gets on the subway for her commute, and she meets Jane. And Jane is wonderful. And we'll talk about Jane.
Yeah.
But then she starts to find out some weird things, that Jane is always on her subway commute, and Jane doesn't seem to want to, leave the subway. So then eventually, through girl detectiving, she finds out Jane is stuck on the subway from the 1970s, and she has to crack the case and get her girlfriend off the subway, and also save the pancake house where she works.
Is she going to be her girlfriend? Is that a spoiler? No. I don't think it really is.
It's a romance novel. I hope it's not a spoiler.
It's a rom-com, yeah. She best be. So what'd you think of this one?
I love this one. I liked it more than Red, White, and Royal Blue. I read it in 2 days, or I listened to the audiobook in 2 days. It was very sweet, and it was so good.
It was really cute. I agree. I think I liked Red, White, and Royal Blue a little better, but I still liked this one as well. It had all of the signature things you want from a Casey book. Mm-hmm. I thought, at least, it has the fun side characters that really could have their own books, and I would totally read them.
Side characters.
It has the great dialogue. I think she has really fun dialogue. Mm-hmm. None of it feels like a forced or cliche in her dialogue, and I think that's actually quite a testament to a writer, because sometimes it's that didn't work there.
I'll read things from 2010 or 8 or whatever, and they don't age well.
Yeah.
They were great then, but they don't age well now.
And it'll be interesting with this one because she has a lot of pop culture references from the 70s up to the 2018. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if that'll age better because of it, because it encompasses so much.
Yeah.
It kind of has a little bit of everything for everyone. There was I should have went back and looked, but there was one moment where it's like, how old are you, Casey? Because that was an old reference. I'm not sure everyone will get that. But I don't remember what it was now. But I wanted to ask you. I'll have to look later if you got that reference.
Maybe.
Right?
I don't know.
It was something from the 80s. So I was it's such a random thing. Anyway, should we talk characters first?
You want to do writing or characters first?
We can keep doing writing, since we kind of already touched on that.
Yeah. I think it felt like a second book in a good way. It felt like their writing had leveled up a little bit and kind of polished some of it, and the humor, it felt more seamless. There weren't things that were so out there, but they were still funny. Or maybe is that? Yeah, I think that's what I mean. It just felt better done in this one.
I thought her writing was still really great. I thought her writing was also well done in the first book. For me, I thought she captured more emotions for me in the first book. In that first book, I laughed, I cried, I got upset, and I was sad. Not to say I didn't have a lot of those feelings, but I didn't get as upset and I didn't cry, which I'm okay with. I don't need that feeling. But I don't think that was a reflection of her writing. I think it was just that story. It was just, they're such different stories to me as well.
Yeah. This one's a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
It's more what it means in your personal world, not for the whole world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they're different scales.
Yeah, I mean, it's like apples and oranges. August is so much more reserved than either of the two in Red, White, and Royal Blue, I thought, as well. So it makes sense, like you said, it was a little quieter and a little more subtle in the beginning. I think once you get going, it kind of gets a little more. Outlandish isn't the right word, but...
I mean, there's time travel in a subway and someone's stuck out of time. That's a little outlandish.
Maybe that is a little outlandish. But yeah, I thought her writing stayed very consistent and was really good. And I didn't have any issues with pacing or anything like that either.
Yeah.
I have no negative comments on that.
I didn't either. I was like, oh, this is just, like, this is nitpicking, but sometimes it felt like everything kind of hinged too much on a coincidence. So August's uncle, her mom's brother, went missing
in the 70s.
In the 70s, yeah. I don't remember how old her mom or August were. Or August, not August, but her mom was. Anyway. So her mom's, like, constantly been, like, obsessed with this cold case and trying to solve it and, like, roping August into it, and August really resents this. So, and her mother's, like, doing that at the beginning of the book. And August refuses to open this manila folder that she gets in the mail until she's, like, also solving Jane's case, and then she has this folder on the subway, like,
no spoilers yet.
Oh, right. Where was I going with this?
It was too coincidental.
Oh, yeah. So then she's like, oh, I'll look at this folder. And then it just happens to kind of break the case for her. It's like, okay. Like,
I think there's definitely some of that. I think that's part of the genre, though, too. Like, you don't read rom-coms to, like, have a lot of twists, I guess. So there's that. And it was kind of, like, really obvious what was trapping Jane, I thought, as well.
Yeah.
But it didn't totally upset me because, again, I expect to know those things and still enjoy the ride of reading it. She was a little repetitive in the beginning. I would say the beginning was a little bit slower for me, but then it picks right up and you get going. And you're hooked in. Especially once you really start meeting Jane. Like, when she gets really pulled into the story, it got pretty good. Should we talk characters then, since we're kind of here?
We should.
What do you want to start with Jane?
Yeah, do you want to start with Jane?
I like Jane. Jane is the girl I think, at least I always wished I could be. She's a little punk rock. She doesn't...
a riot girl throwing Molotov cocktails.
Maybe not that part. But I like that she was a little punk rock and she didn't take crap from people, but yet she was really soft and, like, gentle and sweet with people in her life, and even strangers, like, on the subway.
Yeah, she befriends everyone, and she always has a sweet tooth. Just like all the ranks of book boyfriends, here is Jane. Here's the book girlfriend. Everyone needs.
Yeah, I agree. And I liked, as we continue down even her history, I just liked her more.
Yeah.
And I thought she was exactly what August needed to get her out of her little shell. What did you think of August?
I liked August. There were parts of August that were very relatable. That she's, like, absolutely dreading graduating. Because it's like, I'll be in the real world. It's like, oh, God.
I enjoyed how she tried to prolong that as long as possible by switching all of her majors around. But alas, graduation came.
And then, like, I liked her relationship with her mom. That it was, like, they really kind of only have each other. But at times, August, like, can't stand being constantly roped into her mother's cold cases. So it's just, and, like, how that goes over the course of the book. It's, like, tense but sweet.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's just good.
I feel like there's a lot to unpack with her and her mom's relationship that we will have to discuss in a little bit. I have mixed feelings on that.
Okay.
Not that it was, like, bad, but, like, sometimes I was like, Mom, you gotta be a mom, too.
Yeah.
So, what about all of the roommates?
I love the roommates. It's like
the roommates.
That's like the ideal, like, you answer a roommate wanted ad and then you find your own little found family.
Oh my gosh. They're amazing. I loved all of them for such different reasons. And it was funny, like, when we first meet Nico and she finds out he's a psychic and he's like, you know, puts his hand on and
she's like, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that boy is a psychic. He knew things.
Oh yeah, he is.
Like, all out, yeah. And I like that she finally, towards the end, was like, okay, you're right. You are. You're right. You're not just good at reading people. You are.
Like, okay, fine.
And then I thought, like, his relationship with Mila was, like, what everyone wants to have as well.
They're so married.
Yeah, and in, like, an adorable married way, though.
Yeah.
Like, finish each other's sentences kind of adorable way. So I liked them together. And I liked her. I liked Mila as well. I thought she was good for August.
I like how each of the roommates, like, embraced August in, like, a different way as a friend.
Yeah.
Like, Mila, you meet Mila and it's like you've been friends for years and it's easy that way. Nico, reads your thoughts and like kind of pulls it out of you,
Yeah.
but in like a good way. And then Wes will do nice things for you, but if you mention it, he'll react like a cat that's dumped into water and like shrieks. And like, so just, he'll never admit he does anything nice to you,
Right.
nice for you.
Or
But-
he won't admit that he's having a good time. Like, if
No.
he's like looks bored and upset, you know he's having a good time.
So it's like they all have their own
Mhm.
way, or August relates to them all in her own way, and then they all fit together in this kind of chaotic but warm
Yeah.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, and I loved how like quickly they were a family.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they just so embraced her. It was so meant to be her
Yeah.
answering this ad.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed all that.
August too. That's something I really liked about this book. That was very much like finding your place of belonging, and like even if it's this small apartment that doesn't have hot water,
Right.
and then yeah, you just make your place there.
I also thought it was interesting how both August and Jane were looking for home, more or less, and they were trying to find it in a city. And it was interesting to approach that way to me. I don't know if that's how I would have approached it. I think I would have looked for people and then the destination.
Home is a person, not a place.
Yeah, I don't. And like they went the other way, but it worked. I mean, they both found what they needed in New York, and I don't know. I just thought that was quite an interesting theme somehow.
Yeah, well, because August was like, New York's big enough I can like disappear in, and then the opposite happens.
The total opposite happened. Yeah, and I think Jane just needed a bigger group and like more outgoing group. I don't know. New York was very appropriate though for her. I think compared to where was she before that? New Orleans.
New Orleans. She was in California for a
Yeah.
No, she wasn't in California. She's in a lot of places.
She was in a lot of places.
She's
I
from
don't
San
remember.
Francisco, and then she kind of up to New York.
Hitchhiked and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I just thought their journey was they have very similar journeys in other ways as well.
Yeah.
I thought. There was something else I was going to say, but we can move off of that part because I don't remember what it was.
Is it about Isaiah? Other characters?
No, it was still, I think, about their journeys and home, but
okay.
I don't remember what it was. So we can move on.
Well, they make that journey. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Isaiah.
Isaiah's their roommate. Well, not roommate, but like apartment hall mate. He's across the hall.
He's across the hall.
And like he and Wes have like a thing, not a thing, but Wes will never mention it.
Well, Isaiah wants it to be a thing, and
Yeah.
Wes is so reluctant because he has such baggage. That boy has so much baggage on like love and what that is, and
Affection.
just like not like disappointing people, and even though that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That boy. It works out in the end, but oh my gosh.
It takes a village.
It does take a village in this one. Yeah, and I love that Isaiah also does drag as Annie.
Antidepressant.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
like, what's her stage name? Which is fabulous. Like those events, I would have liked to have gone to.
Yeah, the drag party sounds so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, that sounds fun. Also, parties kind of terrify me because they're loud and there's so many people. But they sound fun in books.
This one sounded pretty fun. Yeah, I agree. I liked how, because it was a holiday themed drag party, the first one we went to, and so she's performing like a Valentine song, I believe, and
Was
so
it Christmas?
hers was Valentine's because it was all the little candy sweethearts.
Oh, right, yeah.
Were
okay.
her outfit, and then they get rained on and it dissolves into another outfit. I'm like, I feel like I've seen that at Project Runway. Like, that's amazing.
They did make outfits out of candy. They did make outfits out of candy.
Well, and there was one where it like changed once it got wet.
yeah, they had dye.
Yeah, it was dye, exactly. But anyway, I could totally envision this. So yeah. Oh, we should talk about the diner characters.
Yeah.
And then we can move on, I think. So she works at a diner, which Mila kind of gets her a job, and
Yeah, because it's like their pancake spot. And was it Billy's Pancake House of Pancakes?
yes, I think that was it because it has pancakes twice. It was
Yeah, it has
weird.
pancakes twice, and it's like kind of like that's what you're going with. Okay, apparently it's a New York thing. I've heard I don't know.
New York,
Yeah, I was reading
pancake.
like articles or something when this book came out,
Okay.
like press stuff. So Mila kind of like gets her a job there, and August is like, okay. They're like, you have experience waiting tables, right? Sure.
Yeah, I liked Lucy right away, even though she's very gruff
Yeah.
and very direct.
Yeah.
But very also...
It's like, have you eaten? You haven't eaten? Like, have a seat.
So nurturing, even though she's got this, like, rough exterior. And then Winfred must be, like, the head server, although he and Lucy run it.
Winfred or Winfield?
Oh, I think it's Winfield, yes.
Okay. And then what's the chef?
Jerry.
Jerry? Okay.
Yeah, so they were a fun little also addition to the whole thing. I forgot to mention that I also liked in the writing that she uses like news articles and blog posts as she's searching Jane's history down. I think Casey does really great mixed media in her books. Both of them. She's done like texts and emails. Yeah. And I really like how she utilizes that in her books. It's not gimmicky or anything. It really does add to the story.
Yeah, it works really well as an audiobook too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So it's like you don't see it. Right. But it felt seamless in how it's incorporated.
Did you look how it is? It's just like the beginning of each chapter, basically.
I saw the one at the end, and then...
Yeah, so it was very cool. I like how she does that.
Yeah.
Shall we do spoilers and ruin this book for everyone for all time?
We can.
Okay. So spoilers from here. Please go read this because we really liked it, and then come back and watch it, and you can tell us what you thought about it because we do like comments as well.
Yeah.
So, any starting place you want to start with?
I don't know if this was like spoilers, but it's more about Jane's. Like, as we learn about Jane, we also see like where she was at like big moments in queer history, and we got little bits of that unfolding, which I really liked in this one. Like, you kind of get some of it in Red, White, and Royal Blue, but you get...
I thought you got it way more in here, though.
You get it more here, and it, like, maybe it's just because they're in New York, but you, like, feel it. I thought you felt it more, like, place.
I agree. It was probably partly because of New York, but she talks about it in other places as well. I mean, it's addressed with them in New Orleans. It's addressed with how it was in California in the beginning. So, yes, it's place, but I think she hits a lot of different places over a large amount of time to be like, and this is here we are now. Yeah.
So I liked that bit of it. And I was like, oh, what are the nonfiction books you read for this? Like, I want to read those.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. She didn't mention anything in the book, though.
Yeah, I most authors usually don't mention those when they write their books. But I'm like, I just kind of want to know what you read. Yeah. Like, drop a JSTOR link at the bottom. That'd be cool.
So do you want to talk about Jane and August's relationship and basically how she saves her?
Sure.
Is there a spot you wanted to discuss?
I don't know. Did you have a starting spot?
Not really. I mean, I liked how they become. Like, they become adorably sweet and cute. And I love when she takes her around New York with her in her pocket with the phone. And how all this stuff, like the batteries and everything comes out. How she basically realizes she's there because of an electrical charge. Did you figure that out early on?
I was kind of suspicious when it's like Mila has a degree in electrical engineering, and I'm like, okay, Mila has a degree in electrical engineering and loves sci-fi novels. Yeah. So is Mila gonna crack the case?
Right. I loved when she got really mad at August for not waiting for her to crack the case. Yeah, I felt like it was pretty obvious when she's stuck on a subway, and we know some big event happened, and we know it's not car specific. That it was going to be the line. Like, there's no other way. It has to be that third line. And it was.
I was like, what other big events happen on a subway that would cause this kind of thing? Or maybe we've just read too many sci-fi and fantasy novels.
That's fair. No, what I did like was that it was August who anchors her into this time and that whole relationship. And I wondered if it was because August and Augie, her uncle, who Jane knew, because Jane actually was Augie's roommate in the 70s, if that was why August got rooted into this time. Because, she said initially it was the smell of the pancake house and the dumping the coffee all over herself that triggered the memory for Jane, which started anchoring her. But I also wondered if it was because she was familiar, because she was related to Augie.
Maybe.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I didn't really think about that because I was like, oh, it's the power of love is going to explain all this time travel. So I'm like, not going to overthink it.
Well, it definitely was, except that they were like, but it's really August specific. Not like, I mean, obviously
it's a romance. Of course
they were
it's
meant
August.
to be. But I was kind of like, of course she's familiar. If she was a roommate with Augie, I mean, this makes perfect sense because you're going to see some of those genes in her. I don't know. It's just going to feel like home, I think. So that's my...
Home is a person.
Right? That was sort of my takeaway with that part.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that deep. I'm just like, oh, yeah, of course it's August. Like, yeah, duh, you're anchored to your soulmate. That's fine.
So what did you think of them saving her? The whole big party and everything there.
The big party, like when Jane walks in, or the big party to like...
To save Jane.
Oh, that. I thought it was fun because it's like there's the party to save the diner, and then, or the pancake house, whatever. And then they're on like a group call, I think.
They have a lot of group
like
calls.
Earpieces.
Oh, the heist. Yeah.
The heist.
I was laughing so hard when they're like, so basically you're planning a heist. And I was like, oh, Jen's going to love this.
Yeah, or then it's like Mila proposes to Nico as part of the shenanigans, but like beats him to it. It was really funny.
Well, I loved that though because she's like, okay, so Mila's supposed to seduce her ex-boyfriend, which again, everything like perfectly lines up, which we could attribute to a little bit to Nico and his
clairvoyance.
Well, he was also putting luck around the apartment that August was like, I saw you doing that. I don't remember what the luck symbols were. Okay. But he was putting things in the apartment to help their luck situation. Anyway, so Mila is like, I have to go seduce this guy, but Nico, I really want to marry you. Nothing I say is going to be true here. Then he's like, are you proposing?
It's like, no, wait, I have this all planned.
Right. I love that he had a ring.
Yeah, it's really cute.
So the heist was really fun. Were you worried that Jane wasn't going to get saved?
Oh, well, not really.
Because it's a rom-com.
It's a rom-com, so, like, it's going to be happy. I was worried that it was, like, maybe Jane would get saved, but, like, maybe the reset would, like, reset her memories or something.
Oh, my gosh, I had that feeling at one point, too.
Or, like, that Jane was going to make it, but there's going to be some kind of catch. Mm-hmm. And there, like, kind of was. Like, August, they kiss on the third line, and that's supposed... and they, like, restart a charge or something.
Not only do they kiss, but, like, she puts her foot on her foot, like, to, like, anchor her to that line. Again, that anchoring.
Yeah, and how it happens, it, like, Jane disappears, and August, like, goes about her life, like, oh, it didn't work, Jane's gone. Maybe she's stuck back in the 70s or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's, like, a few weeks.
3 months.
3 months?
It's 3 months before Jane returns.
3. And then they're having a party at the diner because money comes through. The diner gets saved. Stuff happens. And Jane just walks in like nothing's changed.
Like it's been like 3 minutes.
Yeah, she's like, what do you mean? It's just...
Yeah.
That was like a couple minutes ago.
And so I hit that part where August is obviously mourning Jane, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, she's got to find her. Like, she's not in the 70s. We know she's not in the 70s, but that was when I had that, oh my gosh, are we going to find her? And she's not going to remember August, and they're going to have to start all over again.
Yeah.
Moment.
Like, oh no.
But no, we just had to wait out 3 months.
Yeah.
Which was rough, but we did it.
Because time travel and... Yeah.
And all that quantum physics stuff that I don't get. So do we want to talk more about her mom and her relationship? I mean,
yeah.
I guess the only part I was saying was that, like, her mom fell into that trap where she wanted to be, like, best friends as opposed to necessarily raising her at some points. And so I think it put a lot of baggage on August that she didn't necessarily need. And, like, yes, some of the things she learned were really handy. Picking locks is fun.
Always having a knife on you.
Yeah. It's just, in some ways, like, I felt bad for August because she didn't, not that she didn't ever feel safe, but, like,
she couldn't be a kid.
She never got to be a kid, and she never trusted anyone because her mom never trusted anyone. And I think that makes finding your place harder already. And so then when we found out also she didn't tell her about the grandparents, that was like, I mean, I know you're doing this to protect her, but this was kind of a big thing to not tell.
Yeah.
That the grandparents actually wanted to see. I mean, she, like, August felt that she was the problem, and her grandparents hated her, which is not really the case.
Yeah.
So that was a lot, I thought.
Yeah, that was a lot to, like, unpack. Like, it was pretty late in the book we get this whole bombshell. They're like, oh, this is, like, part of your issues as mother and daughter.
Yep. Yeah, the way your dynamics were. Yeah. I mean, at the same time, it obviously made her August, and it is heading her off into her new career. Once a sleuth, always a sleuth, I guess.
Reformed girl detective can't quit the game.
Yeah. Were you surprised about Jane and Augie? Like that twist?
Like a little bit, but maybe if I had like, by the time I got there, like, oh, like, okay. Because like at the beginning of the novel, like Jane or August gets a folder and her mom's like, oh, this is one of your uncle's friends. Can you like track this person down? And like then I didn't really think anything of it.
I didn't either.
But then they get to it later and I'm like, oh, of course it's Jane.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, it was totally that, of course it's Jane moment. And that whole part was really kind of sad too, where they go out, you know, to celebrate Jane's last night because she's finally going to go back home and try to reconnect with her family. And so she's getting on the bus, but they go out to Coney Island, and then her Uncle Augie gets pretty drunk and falls over into the subway line, and she jumps down to save him. And in doing so, the surge of 1977, the Summer of Sam blackout hits. She hits that third line, and she gets suspended in time. I mean, I think that was a lot of emotional baggage for Jane as well.
Yeah.
To deal with, and we kind of get that at the end where she worked through it.
Yeah.
But like to know you were really meant to die but didn't because of this weird fluke, and then like I don't know, her whole story, wanting to go back to the 70s but really wanting to stay here with August. I don't even know how you would deal with all that.
Very much like Steve Rogers and like all the Marvel things that he's like stuck out of time.
Yep.
And like I don't think Marvel investigated that enough for me personally. But then this kind of got into some of that. I'm like, yes, we have another character out of time and you're handling it. So it kind of reminded me of that, but in a more satisfying way.
Yeah, I think so too. It did talk about her kind of like working through some of that trauma a little bit here and there, even when she was on the subway. And then again, once they're actually reunited out of the subway. Because keep in mind, most of this book is on the subway.
Yeah, because Jane can't leave the subway.
And as she's reoccurring with all of her memories, I think that would be really hard as well. So, and then, yeah. Anyway, there was a lot of baggage there, too.
But, like, Jane runs away from home, and then, spoilers for the end of the book, August, like, tracks her family down. Like, her parents are still alive, her oldest sister, her whole family's still alive.
Well, she's the eldest, but both her sisters are also alive.
Yeah, both her sisters are still alive, and then her parents are still alive, and I'm like, that worked out really happily for you.
Well, we're assuming she'll go back. I don't know if she'll tell him what happened, or she'll be like a mystery granddaughter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I like this whole thing that they can just like tell people that what's going on, like the time travel isn't a big secret.
And no one really questioned it. They're like, oh yeah.
They're like, okay, weird, but okay.
That's not the weirdest thing I've heard or seen today. New York, what do you say? You know, and it was again interesting, both Jane and August, I feel like had a lot of parental expectations put on both of them, and they both kind of ran away from that in a way. Some literally, Jane.
August literally in other ways.
Yeah. So it was interesting how parallel their stories are, and yet they're such different people. And I think that they're very polar opposites, but very good for each other.
Yeah.
So that was good too. August needed someone to push her out of her shell.
And then Jane might not have, like, looked too close at her past if August wasn't like, we have to solve the case. And then it kind of gets between them because August is like, we gotta solve the case. And Jane's like, I didn't ask you to do any of this. And they have the third act breakup, which it's fine.
Yeah, you knew that would happen too.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
Yeah, me too. But it was okay. They had to work through that as well. And I think there was a lot to work out for both of them independently to come together.
There still kind of is.
Yes. But they got the happy ending we wanted.
Yeah.
And they got off the subway. Because at one point I was literally like, where is this going? Like, if she's stuck on the subway forever, how are you going to deal with this?
Or, like, does she have to go back to the subway every so often? Or is she never going to want to take the subway again?
I wondered if she was never going to want to take the subway again. But then she did. And I was like, well,
okay.
Way to go. Anything else you want to touch on?
I have to wait a year or two, however long it is, till the third Casey McQuiston book.
Yep.
Because each is just fun.
Yeah, and so different and great. And, you know, she tackles really important topics.
Yeah.
In a, like, I don't want to say it's a light read. I mean, it is, but at the same time, like I said, you're tackling these really big topics
Yeah.
in both books. There's a big plot.
There's a lot of grief in this one.
There's a lot of grief in this one.
And
I
in
agree.
the first one, in Red, White, and Royal Blue too.
But she really has actual like sustenance and plot to her
Yeah.
books as well.
And they're like hopeful. So they're sad points, but they're hopeful.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I was just saying sometimes they don't have those in rom-coms. I mean, don't have them as much as she has them.
Yeah.
Like you can read this for the romance and you can read this for the story plot line as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So go read this.
It was good. It was really good. Even if you're like time travel isn't my favorite sci-fi or fantasy concept, but it works well in this one. You don't have to think too hard.
I didn't really think about it as time travel. I thought of her more as like suspended in time. That's just not her own.
Or it's like when I started this book, all I went into was like there's time travel. It's sapphic, and that there's a pancake house somewhere. Something about pancakes.
There's lots of pancakes.
Yeah, and it's just I forget what books are about by the time I start them.
All right. Well, we have a few more updates.
Mm-hmm.
We will not be having a book chat the week for next weekend on July 4th. We will not be here for that one. We apologize. Go celebrate. And then starting July 9th, we are moving our book chats back to Friday nights, which I'm rather excited about. But it'll be at 5:30 on July 9th. And they will be then on Fridays at 5:30.
And social media will update you of this as well.
Yes. And for that one, I'm going to be joined by Melissa, and we're going to be reading Malibu Rising, the new Taylor Jenkins Reid book, which should be a nice, fun summer family drama, celebrity, gossipy kind of story.
Soap opera, family drama stuff.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
So be sure to come back on July 9th, and we'll see you guys then.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.